So today is the day on An Idiot Codes episode 6 where we get to make the first strides into something that is playable. This won't be the final game, this is just to show what you can do with what we've learned so far, or what I've learned so far, and what I've poorly explained so far. Where we left off, we had two cars driving around in nonsense, and we kind of want to get rid of that. So for the moment, let's comment out the cars. Hold down Control, press E, and then press C, and that comments out whole sections of things. So now the cars won't be drawn, they don't show up, which for now is just what we need. And let's introduce the new content as well. Add existing items. We have a new background and the colour white, brought to you by Sesame Street. Select them, add them. In the load content, let's take a little shortcut. Since we've got a background already, let's change this to the name of the new file. If I press F5 now, yes, you can probably tell where this is going. So, with that in mind, delete the, well, close those for now. We want a new game object. And that new game object can be a ball. Yeah, bouncy ball. And we'll do what we always do. Copy that. Change the region to ball. The ball is a new game object. The ball sprite file is white. And the ball dot position is, let's put it where the AI car currently is. Right slap bang in the middle of the big old screen that we just made. Excellent. So we have the ball loaded, and let's draw it. Let's just steal the AI car, because we're evil like that. Now if you want to uncomment this, hold down Control, press E, and then U. So that's E, C for comment, E, U for uncomment. Draw ball.sprite file. Ball dot position. Ball dot position. Ball dot rotation. Now the image I came up with for this is just 100 by 100 square of white, but we don't want that. We don't need to use all of that. We're just picking out a 20 by 20 square to be our ball. And the middle of that 20 by 20 square is 10 by 10. And if everything's worked nicely, that's rather large. Why is that so large? Ah, these also need to be 20 by 20. Remember, this draws it, this sources it from the original sprite. There we go, a ball right in the middle of the screen, hunky-dory. Right. Now you'll notice there's a lot of repetition going on here. We can do something about this. Instead of having draw lots of information, draw lots of information, draw lots of information, draw lots of information, what we can do is come into the game object class, and below all our, much like at the top we have here the game content and classes, we can start here with region class attributes. I love me some regions. And we can close that for now. Then underneath all these attributes, public because we want other things to access it, void because I don't know, and draw. We don't need anything special at the moment. with pointy brackets, curly brackets, whatever they're called, afterwards. Now we can extract from here. This isn't the AI car anymore, this is the ball. If we take this from the ball, copy that, paste it in here, you see we get a few problems. Well, now, because this is in the game object, you don't need to tell it which sprite file it is, you just know it's the sprite file that's already here. Same with the position, and the position, and the rotation. Now, sprite batch, there's no sprite batch in the game object. The sprite batch is in game1.cs. So what we can do is say game1 and call it game1. Now this is going to make it so when we call draw, it'll want to know where the game1 is, which is here. And then we can pass this through and say game1.spritebatch. So if we comment this out for now and put ball.draw, and it says, hey, aren't you missing something? Where's game1? Well, this is game1. And quite literally, you just have to type this. So now the game understands where everything is. So it's looking for sprite batch, and it knows it's in game1, but it can't access it at the moment, so we come up to the top, and like the other things we've done, we change sprite batch to public. And while we're here, let's change viewport rectangle to public as well, because we'll probably need that later. So instead of having all this fuss here, we can just tell it to draw. So once we've done that, you would think it would be easy to just go car.draw this. And we press play. There's the ball, but oh, there's no car. Now the reason for that is, in the game object, it's looking for something that's 20 high, 20 wide, and that's fine for the ball, but obviously the car was a different shape and size, so what we need to do is pass this information through, which we can do as follows. What we want is an integer that says sprite height, an integer that says sprite width. I think I've got those backwards. Yeah, I've got those backwards. Width. Not that it matters, I could have done it the other way around, but for consistency. And then we want sprite location, maybe just lock x, and sprite lock y. Oops, they need to be integers as well. Int. So now we take sprite width, and everywhere we've got a position. That's how wide the sprite is. That's how wide the sprite is. That's how tall it is. That's how tall it is. And sprite lock x, because that's where it is on the actual sprite sheet itself. And sprite lock y. Now I've taken all the values out, so at the moment everything's broken, and you'll see when I come back here, what have you done? Everything's horrible, I hate this. So come in, now it says we want the sprite width. Well, for the ball it's 20, and the sprite height is 20, and the location is 0 and 0. And for the car, if you remember, the width was 100, the height was 100, and the location was 0, 0 as well. Now I've done that, fingers crossed. Well, that's peculiar. Wait a second, I know why. And the origin is still set to what the ball desires. What we will do instead is say sprite width divided by 2 and sprite height divided by 2. So no matter what size we use the middle. The rotation point will always be the center. You don't always want that for everything, but for what we're doing, that's exactly what we need. And the car's off on its drive again. Woohoo! Now, as you can imagine, this is quite a powerful way of doing things, rather than building everything in game1.cs. All this here can be removed. Everything that's massive like that and wasteful and takes up far too much space can be removed. I'll leave the background as it is for now because that's a slightly different case. I don't use the same, well, I hadn't used the same thing for that. I could do, but for the moment I'll just leave it as it is. For that matter, let's get rid of the car because we don't need you. Goodbye. I'll leave that there as an example, but it's not going to be in the game anymore. So now we've got the ball in the middle of the field doing absolutely nothing. We want to change that. Let's see. The AI car gone, the player car gone. We want a new region, ball, end region. Now the ball can do several things. It can move up, down, left, right, and ideally we want it to bounce off things. So what we really need is a way to determine motion, whether it's going left or right, up or down. Considering motion in games, 2D games at least, tends to be broken down into X and Y, we should probably do the same. And for that, we can use something called Boolean functions, which are basically true or false. We could put them here, or we could even put them in the GameObject class, but what we need is for these things to only apply to the ball. We don't need them to apply to every GameObject that exists, and we don't need them to clutter up game1.cs. So what we can do is come in, right-click Idiot Game 1, add a new class, and call it ball. And now it's empty. And if I were to I could copy and paste all of this, and that would be wonderful, and it'd pick everything up, and it'd work exactly like a GameObject does, and we could modify it from there. But an easier way of doing it is to take ball, put a colon, and then GameObject. Now this tells the game that a ball is a type of GameObject, which means it has all the behaviours that the current one does. Let's leave this completely blank. Go up to the top, change GameObject to ball, and change this to a new ball. And you see everything functions exactly as before. It still functions as a GameObject, but now we can build new functions on top of it, which apply only to a ball. In this case, we want a new bool X bounce and a bool Y bounce. So we'll know if the ball is moving left or right, up or down. Let's say for now these are false, just to start off with. Now in the same way that we went into the GameObject and added a draw, in the ball we can add public void update. Actually, while we're here, let's region class attributes in region. Right. So update. I don't think we need anything outside yet. So in the update, you can say if x bounce equals true. Wait, I've done it wrong. If if x bounce equals true, then we want the velocity of the ball to equal velocity dot x, because it's the horizontal motion, 1.0 f. Whereas if x bounce is false, we want it to equal -1, so it will go left. If y bounce equals true, velocity dot y equals 1.0 f, and if y bounce equals false, then false, velocity dot y equals -1 f semicolon curly bracket. If we come into game1.cs, find our update and say ball.update. Now, because everything defaults to false, this should go left and up. But of course, should is a crazy thing. As I remember from last time, position plus equals velocity, because we want the velocity to be added to the position. There we go, it's on the move. Bye ball, nice seeing you. Of course, a ball that goes off into the mists of forever is not particularly useful.